Valin's RainSwitch Stormwater Diversion Control System addresses the challenges of managing initial stormwater runoff, which often contains high levels of contaminants and bacteria. It detects 1/10 of an inch of rainfall, allowing the first flush polluted water to flow to the sewer for treatment, then diverts the cleaner runoff to flow freely to the stormwater system. This ensures compliance with stormwater regulations and protects the environment. Hello, I'm Steve Molinari with Valin Corporation. Formerly with Jensen Instrument Company, we were acquired in 2022 by Valin. So you will see some of these rain switches. A lot of them are out there with Jensen labels and Jensen part numbers. Don't be concerned whether it says Jensen on it or Valin. It's the same rain switch. Valin is keeping the product going. Part numbers are the same, but you will see some variations in the design on the rain switch. The old units were a Joe Bell carbon steel enclosure with those had floats. They actually had a mechanical float that rode up and down. In 2000, we started making it all stainless steel. We did have a green Pepper Fuchs sensor in the first rev. They didn't work out so well, so we pretty rapidly switched to the stainless steel probe luminite. So you'll see different rev numbers and different products, but the old versions are not compatible with this pilot station. So if you find any of the old units out there not working, you're going to have to upgrade the whole system with a new rain switch and new pilot station. But don't worry whether it's a Jensen or a Valin label. Valin's got you covered. We'll take care of you. We'll make sure you get it upgraded and operational. So we've got the rain switch diversion system here to show you the different components and explain what you need to do for servicing and troubleshooting. We've got the rain switch, which does the detection of the rainfall. So at 1/10 of an inch, it'll actually actuate a coil in the pilot station that'll do the control of the valve. So I'll start with the rain switch itself. It's a very simple device. This is the level chamber. We have a Y strainer here. Keep any of the debris that gets in here from getting to the solenoid. The solenoid's got pretty small orifices in it. So we're just trying to capture strain anything into the strainer here. You don't want it to plug up the solenoid valve, so that should be opened up and cleaned out probably annually. Depending where you're at, you might need to do it more often if a lot of debris is getting into it. This funnel would normally be installed on the top of a building or a flagpole or any kind of a pole. It's got to be where rain can get to it from any angle. There's no obstructions. And then the rain switch would normally be at grade. It's best if it's installed at grade so you can do the servicing of it, not have to go up on a roof or up a pole to do the servicing. So this plumbing can be, doesn't matter, 30 feet, it doesn't matter. As long as the rain that gets captured here gets to this chamber. The sensing probe here is nothing more than a stainless steel rod with a Teflon insulation around it from the connector. So what happens is the rainwater comes in the chamber. When it fills up to the point that it hits the probe, you get a short, and the relay detects that short and actuates and gives you switches the contacts to control the valve. So I'll simulate. So there really is nothing to fail on the rain switch. There's no moving parts. Every wetted part is stainless steel or brass. So as long as you keep the solenoid clean so you can reset it, there's just nothing to really go wrong with the rain switch. It's never the problem. The problems, if there's a problem, it's probably in the relay and the pilot station. We'll go over shortly. One thing for testing, people will install them and test them. You can't use bottled water to test because bottled water is RO water. It's too clean. It won't create the short between the ground and the probe. So make sure you just use tap water. The other way you can do it is just take a little jumper, and there's a ground inside the conduit box here, the J box, and the probe. If you got to hold it for 3 seconds because the relay has a 3-second time delay. And now you can see the valve is actuated. Notice both lights on the pilot station are off because it's in mid-travel. Once it reaches its fully open position, the light shows divert to the storm. So you release it, goes back to the closed position. It will be flowing back to sewer once it reaches its limit. We'll go over how to test that. The only thing you have to do service on the rain switch is clean the solenoid, make sure the solenoid's clean the wash drainer. That's about all you can do with the rain switch. The rain switch gives the signal to the pilot station. The pilot station has this level relay, and this is a level relay. You can't just go out and buy a single pole double throw relay and change this out. If you overload this and the relay fails, you have to replace it with this exact relay. Do not substitute something else. You must use this relay.
The level relay that we provide supplies 120 volts to the rain switch probe, though it is restricted to nanoamps. Therefore, it is UL approved. It's safe. It'll not shock anybody, and that's the purpose of having this level relay. If a different relay is used, you will be putting 120 volts on the probe, and it'll potentially electrocute somebody. So that's why we are so adamant about this package. It can only be used with the level relay. So if one is failed, it has to be replaced by like kind. Please follow these guidelines and everybody will be safe and it'll perform as designed.
It's a 10 amp contact. All the butterfly valves that we supply are well within the load capacity of this relay. If you're using a pump, if you're going to drive a pump, you have to use an interposing relay. A starter relay, a high current relay. This becomes your control signal to trip the coil of the high starter relay. Most pumps, I have people say, oh, it's only 8 amps and this is 10 amp. That's true. But when you start that pump, it might be a 30 or 40 inrush a load that's required. And this relay will not take it. You will damage it and have to spend another $400 for a new one. So please make sure if you're doing pumps, use an interposing high amp relay. This is an automatic version. There's a timer. This timer is a reset timer. Every 10 hours, it'll open this solenoid valve for 12 minutes, allowing the system to drain and reset. Goes back to the sewer. The next 1/10 of an inch of rain, which might take 3 minutes, it might take 3 hours. Then it'll switch back to storm drain again. The automatic just does that every 10 hours. It just cycles and it'll reset. This allows so that the system doesn't get just left for a month or two in the divert condition. LA County doesn't like it. They only want the manual reset. So the only difference between this automated version and the manual is this timer is lacking. It's not in the manual. The only way you open the solenoid is you can hear actuate. Okay, you hold it until the water stops coming out of it, till it's completely drained. When it comes to the valve itself, they are water resistant, waterproof. I think they're rated at 4X, or I'm not sure on I think with a plastic like this, I think it's actually NEMA 6.2. So you want to make sure these are usually down in a pit, a vault. It's ideal if you can to have them to be installed either on a horizontal plane or at the 45. As you can see, any debris that's flowing through the system the butterfly will not obstruct anything from flowing through. I mean, we've seen rags, we've seen branches and leaves get hung up on the butterfly. So if you can get it installed like this, probably 99% of the time it's golden in the not ideal situation in a vertical, and that's just because the vault, there's physically not a lot of room in the vault, so they end up getting installed like this. The clarifier upstream should be catching any solids, rags, and any of that solids. So you really shouldn't be seeing it coming down into the valve. But it has happened where something has jammed in the valve and it was stuck in mid-stroke, so no lights on, can't figure out why, and they'll have an obstruction. As far as the valve itself, there's not much you need to do with it or check, but if it's not fully closing or fully opening, there are cams here that trip limit switches, and they are adjustable. They're set at the factory, so you shouldn't have to adjust them. But there's one for full open and full close, which stops the motor. As you saw, as it reached its full position, it would stop the motor, and that's being done by these limit switches. There's a small Allen there that you can adjust them if they need to be a little 5-degree adjustment or something. There's another set that controls, gives you feedback, and that's what's lighting these lights. And those are also adjustable, but typically you don't need to deal with that. Other than that, there's not much else in here that you need to deal with. There is a lid, the cover on it, and there is an indicator that drives off this shaft and shows open and closed as well. So, because when it's installed in the pipe, you can't see its position. So there is an indicator on top of the cover to indicate where the valve's at. Pumps may be specified to pump the drainage to the sewer, and once 1/10 of an inch of rain has fallen, the RainSwitch device will turn off the pump circuit, allowing the clean rain runoff to flow to the storm drain system. A high amp starter relay is required to handle the pump load. So if you're having a problem, the first thing you want to do is verify that the RainSwitch is working. Make sure you got 12 volts to the probe, between ground and the probe, the top of the probe there where the connection is. If that's all right and everything's clean here, then you go to the pilot station. Again, the pilot station, you can either check it here, which may not be convenient. You can also jumper between the H and the G on the relay, which is the same as putting water in the RainSwitch or doing the jumper like I did here. The same thing occurs here, just by jumping the H to the G, H to ground. We're doing the exact same thing as I just did over on the RainSwitch. So hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Fully open. Release. 1, 2, 3. So this is an easy way to check the system. You'll notice that when we're in mid-stroke, you have no lights until it reaches its next position, its open position. So if you ever come up to the system and you have no lights, you either got a bad light, which is doubtful since they're LEDs, they last forever, or the valve is jammed in mid-stroke, it's not reaching its full open or closed position, or these cams are out of adjustment. There's no reason for them to go out of adjustment, but that's a possibility too. If the valve's not actuating, I typically will have you remove all the field side of the terminals. This is the factory wiring. This is your field wiring. Obviously, I have a rat's nest here of wires right now just for testing it. But normally you're going to have everything run through conduit, sealed conduit. So it'll obviously be a lot cleaner than what we have here. But I would typically remove all the wiring going to the valve. And then you can check voltage. So in the normal condition of where it's sitting right now, we should have 120 volts on terminal 8 and nothing on 9. If you have voltage on both 8 and 9, you got a bad relay. If you have voltage on 9 and not 8 in this condition, you probably have a bad relay. Usually what you'll see is you might have voltage on 8 right now. You go ahead and jump it and nothing happens. It doesn't switch. So when you go to the divert condition, the 120 volts will go from terminal 8 to terminal 9. So that's an easy check with the voltmeter, and you just put this on there and okay, the voltage didn't change, then you've got a bad relay. So that's another simple check of the pilot station. Other than that, you just have 2 lights. Pretty simple there. Push button. And that's about it. If you have any problems or questions beyond what you've seen here, and don't hesitate to call Valin's customer service, and we'll get the right person to address the issue with you and support you any way we can. Thank you much.